I welcome Khemlata Wakluji, the author of the book that we're going to discuss today, Kashmiri Century. We have our noted Siddharth Kakji here with us as well. Everyone knows him from the Surbi serial that he used to co-host alongside Renuka Shahaneji. We have Mr. Ajay Kaul, who's representing Equat Foundation here today, and a noted corporate professional and advisor and mentor, not only to many, but to us as well. And we have a very young lady, talented Tanya Bhan Chopra, joining us from Melbourne, Australia. So this sets the house now, and we have a lot of other people who are joining us from many parts of the world. And it's truly a privilege to host this session on behalf of City Book leaders. I welcome you all. Also from the Equat Foundation, which is trying to revive the Kashmiriyat, the unison that is required, something which is so important as part of the Kashmiri culture. And the book that we are going to discuss today, with such an illustrious and erudite panel that we have today, this book is remarkable. And I would like to start it with a confession. For the first time, when this book came to me, I thought, okay, this seems to have some part of what we have already read many a times in so many other books that we have read about Kashmir. And till the time we actually fixed a date when this session will happen, especially because the recommendation of the book came to me from two very important people in my life. Of course, one is Ajay and other from Mr. Vash, who's also joining us in a while. He also recommended the book. And when it happened, we had to figure out a date. Until the time that it was decided, I was not able to read the book. I picked it up, read few stories from the book. But when we decided the date, it took me at least 4 or 5 days in a stretch with complete focus to read the book. And to me, this book is a travel book. This book has absolutely no politics into it. It has no any other part of the fabric which describes the society other than the social and the culture part of what Kashmir is all about. And that too, not just for a specific duration, but I must say this is actually the book which has covered a complete century. So much so, the cover of the book is remarkable because it shows a one complete Kashmiri Pandit family where Khemlata Wakluji is also sitting and a very tiny part of the picture, that's what she represents. But she has covered every character of this picture so well, of this photograph so well, that once someone starts reading this book, he or she will delve into what Kashmiri culture is. So much so that I had to make my notes, and the book is so meticulously written. I had no courage to scribble on the book, rather create my own scribble notes for it. And I came across some very beautiful terms, especially the one that I would always recommend to a lot of people who come to me, what should be the name of the adventure? What should we name this? One word is like scribed onto my mind is Vattu, which is the sitting room. That's a Kashmiri word for the club that we host. And I welcome you all to this Vattu now. And without much of ado, I would now request Shri Ajay Kaulji to take us into this journey and also to tell us what Equat Foundation is trying to do. Why this first book that we are discussing in collaboration with Equat Foundation holds so much of relevance to him, to the entire community, and so many other people who could join in today. Ajay sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mohit. Namaskar, Mara Sarni, Lesiv, Tefalev, which in English means stay blessed and prosper. A very warm welcome to all of you, all our listeners and viewers today. It's indeed a big day for us because this is the first time Equat Foundation is hosting an event like this. But more importantly, A Kashmiri Century is an outstanding book written by, I would reckon, one of the most prominent Kashmiri Pandit women of the last 40, 50, 60 years. And Khemlata ji also happens to be an aunt of mine, my wife's actually. So namaskar and hello to you also. Some of you may be wondering, what is this Equat and why is it a big day for you, for us? Equat actually, is a part of Equat Foundation, and in Kashmiri it means together. I'll take you a little bit back into history over several exoduses, and the most recent one being the 1991, the one in 1990. Kashmiri Pandits have got thrown, strewn, dispersed all over the world, which is bad for the community because as it is, we are not a large community, and as a result, The immediate impact has been on erosion of our culture, our values, our rituals, our food habits, and language. And some experts do predict that probably 100 years is what they give us for extinction. It may sound a little bit harsh, but look, it's a distinct possibility. So keeping that in mind, Equat Foundation, three of us, myself and two of my co-founders, Mukesh Kachru and Sanjay Kaul, came together and formed this platform in the form of a mobile app, the main purpose of which is to create a global directory of Kashmiri Pandits wherever they are, to bring them together, to help them to network, to basically engage them through things on language, rituals, the food habits, the jantri, which many of you will be able to relate to, the music. We had a global Equat talent hunt, and we will continue having such events, matrimony, jobs, and multiple such things. So I would urge, our Kashmiri viewers today, Kashmiri Pandit viewers, to download the app and consume the app, as more and more features are being built and so on. To start the proceedings of the day, before we actually get on to the real chat with Khemlata ji and Siddharth ji, we have one young Kashmiri talent here, and you will be surprised when you hear that she's all the way coming from Melbourne. She's a pediatric medicine student. Her name is Tanya Ban Chopra. So she has got all the Australian culture also a part of her upbringing, but funnily enough, or I would call her strangely enough, she's a talented singer. And this talent was identified at the Equat Talent Hunt, Global Equat Talent Hunt, which we had conducted some months back. And I'm pleased to tell you today that Tanya is going to present to us Shiv Stuti, keeping alive the spirit of Shaivism in mind. It is amazing that how a young girl being brought up in Australia still remembers and does a rendition of such intricate Shaivism and Shiv Stuti things. So Tanya, I'm extremely delighted. Please go ahead and share your Stuti with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction, sir. Namaskar, Mara. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day and keeping safe. I'm really honored to be here today in the presence of such amazing people. Thank you so much for having me here. While growing up, I have been listening to the different kind of Shiv stotras from my parents and grandparents. Today, I'm going to sing one of the famous stotras of Bhagwan Shiv, which is the Lingashtakam. So the Ashtakam is basically a collection of 8 verses, and it was one of the ways that the rishis used to offer prayers to gods. Shivlingashtakam is written by Adi Shankaracharya, and it praises Bhagwan Shiv in his ling form. It lists the glories of Bhagwan Shiv and the benefits of worshipping the Shivling. Some of these benefits are that it provides peace of mind and helps keep the negative energy and thoughts away. It also provides good health, prosperity, and wisdom. So I will now recite the Shivlingashtakam. Brahma Murari Surachit Lingam Nirmal Bhasit Shobhit Lingam Janaj Dukha Vinashak Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. Devamuni Praviranchit Lingam Kamadaham Karunakar Lingam Ravana Pavinashan Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. Sarvasugandhi Sulepit Lingam Buddhi Vivardhan Karan Lingam Surasura Vandit Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. Kanak Mahamani Bhushit Lingam Sanipati Veshtit Shobhit सुयज्ञविनाशकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् कुमकुमचन्दनलेपितलिङ्गं पङ्कजहार सुशोभितलिङ्गं सञ्चितपापविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् देवगणार्चितसेवितलिङ्गं भावैर्भक्तिभिरेव च लिङ्गं दिनकरकोटिप्रभाकरलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् अष्टदलोपरिवेष्टितलिङ्गं सर्वसमुद्भवकारणलिङ्गम् अष्टदरिद्रविनाशितलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् सुरगुरु सुरवर पूजितलिङ्गं सुरवन पुष्प सदार्चितलिङ्गं परात् परं परमात्मकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् लिङ्गाष्टकमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् शिवसन्निधौ शिवलोकमवाप्नोति शिवेन सह मोदते इति श्रीलिङ्गाष्टकस्तोत्रं सम्पूर्णम्।
Okay, Tanya, outstanding. You know, you would inspire so many young Kashmiri Pandits globally. And when I said a little while back that maybe we are up for extinction in 100 years and our rituals and stuff are getting, eroded, you are our ray of hope. So outstanding, hats off to you and your parents who have kind of maintained, these standards with you. Brilliant. Moving quickly to now, the reason why we are all here today, A Kashmiri Century. Some rave reviews already the book is getting. A lot of them have got already sold. I would not at this juncture try to give my own views, and I have my own lots of views, but I would straight away get into the two key people who, we are going to listen to today. Khemladaji Waklu, who's, as I said earlier, one of the most prominent Kashmiri Pandit women probably of the last 10 decades, an eminent writer, and which we are going to discuss today, but as importantly, political leader, social worker, more than 40-50 years in J&K primarily, has held important political positions and served as an MLA for 12-15 years, was the Minister of Tourism, and also the chairperson of State, Social Welfare Board. So an illustrious career she has had. And Khemladaji, we are honored to have you today and to discuss your book with us. And no less an eminent, Kashmiri Pandit is Mr. Siddharth Kakchi. In the television world, right from 1972 is when he has been participating in it. He's anchored and produced several TV shows. And I'm sure, as I talk about a show called Surabhi, all of you in your probably have an imprint of, what Surabhi used to be and what, indelible imprints it has left in our minds. So he was the person behind Surabhi. He has acted in several films and serials, as you may have seen him there. And last but not the least, which is also very relevant for today, is that he has authored several books. So he has his own insights and his own, views about, Kashmir and book writing and stuff. Siddharthji, without further ado, I would hand over the mic to you. Please
ask Khemlata ji some questions about the book and what motivated her to write the book.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay. And I'm indeed looking forward to this, because I must tell you that a bit like how Mohit mentioned, that when he actually read the book, it was very different from what one would have ever imagined. And I must thank Khemlata ji for actually the heart. दिल की बात होती है कि आप इस तरह से बात कर सकते हैं. And that though you have been connected with politics, what interested you about Kashmir was a social and cultural milieu. And actually this social and cultural milieu is something that I, as an observer, wasn't able to find anywhere. कुछ भी आप किताब पढ़ते हैं on Kashmir, it is basically in large, broad sweeps of political, what the central leadership was doing, what X was doing, and how the troops were moving. So that's what Kashmir is all about in the popular imagination. Here at last is a book. Indeed, Khemlata, I am very grateful to you, because you have opened the door to me itself to understand what the Kashmir of my childhood was. And what the influences which I was trying to understand, you have actually pinpointed them. और अगर मैं कहूँ, आपकी किताब मेरे हिसाब से is the true symbol of Kashmiriyat. यही तो है Kashmiriyat. It is both Kashmiri Pandits, it's got Kashmiri Muslims, they live together, they fight together, they love together, and it is actually that bonding जो कहते हैं कि at one time at any rate, maybe not so true today, but the Kashmiri Pandit and the Kashmiri Muslim were far more identical to each other than a Kashmiri Pandit may be to a Hindu somewhere else in India, or a Kashmiri Muslim might be to a Muslim outside India, or even outside Kashmir for that matter.
That is true.
So first thing is that you have expressed the sense of Kashmiriyat in your novel. And you have done it by looking at the stories of your family. And what a family, and what a story that you have been able to tell. And in fact, when that very first story is so riveting, and what does it tell us about Kashmiri society, about a kidnapping? And by the way, I must tell all our readers, our viewers today, that kidnapping is something which Khemlata ji is not unfamiliar with. She has also, she keeps it under a bushel. She doesn't talk about it, but it's a very brave and a very wonderful, the spirit of the lady is exhibited in that. And maybe if she has an opportunity to speak about it, I would really like to know more about that. But because today, Ajay was saying about the last migration in 1991. Are we sure we are not seeing a migration in 2021? Because yesterday morning I read the papers, and while I'm going to Kashmir tomorrow, so it's a reverse migration for a little while, that people are leaving naturally, struck with some fear.
Because of,
yes, struck with fear. So is this, so will it be stemmed very quickly, or will it be, I don't know, but Kashmiri Pandits have faced many situations in the past, और आपने किताब में भी दिखाया that they face many privations, many deprivations, and they are resilient. So what another thing which I noticed is that, this is what you have brought out in your book, the resilience of the Kashmiri spirit. उसमें ये है कि if you look at it historically, जब Sanskrit was the language of the court, the Kashmiri Pandit was enterprising. He knew Sanskrit. When Persian was the language of the court, he was enterprising. He learned Persian. When English is the language of business, he knows English too. So that particular knowledge, seeking for knowledge, they are seekers, I thought, the Kashmiri Pandits. And I would like actually Khemlata ji to talk about the stories in which these points are highlighted. I will just say one more thing, and then I will ask some 2-3 questions, because that's really what we want to hear is from her. When we talk of opportunity, just think, aap sochiye, look at it from the point of view of the way the world opens out to you. Kaha jata hai that going to Gilgit Gilgit in those days, undivided Kashmir, was through mountainous passes, treacherous movement. It was such a difficult thing to reach out there. Yet people, Kashmiri Pandits, used to think that if they were posted to Gilgit, it was like going to London. So they were not measuring the visit or London by the having the comforts of London, but the opportunity that London gave them, because here they also would be in close touch with the British, if you like, and therefore they would have great opportunities of advancement as well. So they looked at it from the point of view, and they went there happily, and they made names for themselves as Kashmiri Pandits, in administration outside the central part of Kashmir. So I really wanted to remind Khemlata ji about the stories to tell us.
Actually, Siddhar ji, you have introduced me nicely, and the book also.
Thank you.
The first story which I have written is all about the kidnapping and the ways they used to go from place to place, from Kashmir to Lucknow. Just imagine, in that era, is it audible?
I can hear you.
Okay. So, from Kashmir to Lucknow was not a small thing. As you said that they used to go from place to place and to other places also for their adventure. I should say that it was more adventure.
Yes.
And the way our history has been, the treacherous history throughout, it's not only now that we are facing what we are facing, but the Kashmiris, by and large, they were actually very, very peace-loving people, and they are still like that. They don't want to have unrest, and they don't want to have this kind of thing. And there were so many books written for Kashmir, so many books, recent books also, which was full of terrible things, bomb blast and other things, and all sorts of negative things. But I thought that nobody knows about Kashmir, real Kashmiriyat and real Kashmiri culture, Kashmiri ethos, Kashmiri values, their food, as you have already said, that their food, their joy, sorrow, and hurt, and their ways of life, everything. And there was valor also in that. And above all, one thing you mentioned about the spirituality, that was the backbone of Kashmiriyat. That is the backbone of Kashmir. Even now, everyone, whenever there is any music, wherever you will go from one place to another place, you will find 101 small pilgrimages, small shrines, man-made, their own style. And any sages, peers, fakirs, sons, rishis, that was the culture of Kashmir. And people are revering this kind of thing. I don't want to give you all picture, but even now, if we go towards a little more deeper, our poets, they have written beautiful poems. Take it to Malaldet, Nundareshi, and then Swachakral, Wahab Khar, Ahad Zargar, Krishnaju Razdan.
Wow.
There are innumerable, so many luminaries, so many poets, so many sages who have given us this message of love, message of compassion, message of togetherness. And now that you have brought one question, that yesterday's problem, which occurred, I must tell you one thing. No Kashmiri is happy about this. Everybody feels betrayed. Everybody feels hurt. Without cross culture and anything, without religion, whosoever is Kashmiri here, everybody feels bad, extremely bad. So this ethos will keep us alive. And I hope, I still hope, in spite of these skirmishes, this is a war between the ideals, war between the truth, war between the peace and unrest. And so we have to, together we have to finish this. It's not that somebody is going to scare you, somebody is going to do this kind of horrendous thing, the dastardly act. We are
One
going
thing
to bow down. If we
Khemlata
are
ji, in
not
your book,
going-
sorry,
Yes,
pardon me.
yes,
I was
yes.
saying, Khemlata ji, आपकी किताब में जो आप एक कहानी के रूप में अगर आप हमें बताएं, जो आपने कहानी बताई है, दो तीन चीजें आप उसमें सोचिए कौन सा आप बताना चाहेंगे पहले, लेकिन all of them are fascinating stories. One is the story about, and you yourself have expressed it, about the spirituality, meaning to say,
Oh,
the very festivals and functions used to continue for days. And they were a kind of entertainment. हम तो ये सोचते हैं कि जब टीवी नहीं था, शायद रेडियो था थोड़ा बहुत, लेकिन उसकी एब्सेंस में this was something so exciting for the families and the young people to participate in rituals and plays and drama, etc. And you have written some stories about that. I'd be very happy if you could tell us something about that.
yes.
And then the other thing which is related to that, which is also interesting stories, जो आपने लिखी है बहुत interestingly, कि was the reverse of the spirituality also the question of rumors. How rumors used to move so fast, it was like faster than the internet. In Kashmir, even before there was any kind of correction. So something happened in a household somewhere in Srinagar, and the whole of Srinagar would know it in about 24 hours. And same thing, they believed that there were demons and there were witches, and therefore the priestly class also was elevated to a high degree, because you had to be spiritual in order to be able to attack and defeat these demonic people. So do tell us, I think, those wonderful stories that you've told, partly about those festivities and what they were, and partly about the these one buddhis and the other issues which are very personal and very specific to Kashmir.
Yes, I have written one story. Why one story? There are so many stories interwoven and interconnected. One is really festivals of Kashmir, that is Shivratri. Shivratri used to be a great festival of Kashmiris. Everybody was involved in that, although it was celebrated by only Kashmiri Pandits. But willy-nilly, everyone was woven into the whole thing. Like I'll give you one example. Potters used to get all sorts of beautiful small and big pots relating to the puja of the Shivratri day. And the flower man, during the winter, there were not fresh flowers available. Therefore, they used to get beautiful flower bouquets and small chhatri, chhata for Shivji. And then Shivji's murti was also made by these potters and the Kumars. So when he used to come to our homes, in Kashmiri Pandit homes, he was not straight away allowed to come inside. उसके लिए आरती लगानी पड़ती थी, आरती निकाल के पानी और घड़े में पानी लेके, and then they used to do welcome him and his wife also, and then they would enter in the home. And this ritual was everywhere to be seen. It was not only in one place. And all the people, they would play, children would play kaudis. And then from the first day of the 13th day of Shivratri, it was celebrated in such a beautiful way. I do have, remember everything. And it must have been in your childhood also, a little bit. You may not have, because after 47 things dwindled and everything was eroding into the modern, so-called modern, but our culture also, and the exodus also, because that played a havoc in Kashmiri ethos. Kashmiri language was the first culprit. It had a first victim. So these things happen, but in spite of these things, Kashmir is resilience. And not today. First story is about the kidnapping. In that also, I have tried to depict that, I mean, under those circumstances, when there was no light, there was no electricity, no communication, roads where there was no road at all, even
Hmm.
pony tracks, I don't know, घोड़ों पे जाते थे, पैदल जाते थे, with those these grass slippers that that used to be a pulhor they used to call it.
Hmm.
So pulhor pe जाते थे, not only in this century or last century, 200 years, 400 years, but this is this century. But even 600 years back, thousands of years back, they used to travel from one place to another place to spread peace, to spread new ideas, to spread new religions. I mean, it was Kashmiris have been always pioneer, but I feel so sad. All the Kashmiris, and in between also because of onslaught, because of treacherous things, what has happened, which is full of stories in our, I mean, histories. History is full of these things. That was that's why I want to emphasize one thing, that this was the reason that I wanted to bring forth little more about Kashmir, so our culture, our way of life, our cuisines, our food habits, our and joys and sorrows. During the winter months also, it used to be a, you know, that in Navshin is a one story in which
In
I have
Mubarak.
depicted Navshin Mubarak.
Hmm.
And in that also, I have tried to show the real how people used to live, how people used to, in spite of lack of communication, how they used to manage this. That baffles me also sometimes,
Yes.
how they used to do these things, but they were doing it. They were celebrating these things. They were enjoying these things in spite of these drab, wintry days, cold days, and they would drive beautiful things. And
As
that
you
was not, sorry.
you have rightly said that the life was very tough for the Kashmiri, but they bore it with cheerfulness. And I would like you to, in your stories, you have mentioned about how women actually took the brunt of it. Because all these functions which took place and the entertainment that took place, the women were working for it. And they were serving and they were making and they were, part of the festivals and part of the pujas. The women played an extremely important role in that, as a result of which I think many of them got burnt out quite soon. And we have stories, and I wonder if you could throw some light on that and through your stories about
Yes.
what it was for women, and what was the medical conditions, and how was medical treatment thought about in those days
Yes.
of your stories?
Yes, it was a very, very bad situation as far as women folk was concerned. It was not only in Kashmir, I think throughout India, everywhere in India, it was, women were really victims of disease, victim of other problems. And I remember one vividly. Whenever there was, I mean, sometimes they would say that what has happened to this lady, she died so soon. One reason was that they have got TB, and TB was tuberculosis.
Yes.
And because they used to say, it was very common situation, a very common disease with women folk only, because they wouldn't express their problems. They were succumbing to all sorts of pressures, and therefore people would say, what happened? She got TB because she was overburdened by all the pressures and all the things, and plus disease also. And another thing was childbirth. During the childbirth, so many ladies used to die. Women used to die. And I think, so many pandits used to have three marriages, two marriages, which I have already mentioned as far as, I mean, in my family also, my grandmother's family, she was very proud of one thing, that she is a child, only child from four mothers. And we used to coax her, and we used to tease her what kind of I mean, child. She would say that first didn't bear any child, second also didn't bear, that she was the third, and then again he married fourth one. That is as that was her narrative. And she would say, because we used to tease her, but why did she, now that you were there, there was no point that he should have married again. And she would say that because I didn't have brother. So that was the condition. In, I mean, previous days, I mean, that was the thought.
So this question of a male heir or a male child is beautifully brought out in your first story, Kidnapped, where actually a family living in faraway Lucknow, I don't know whether I should give away that story, but you should read it. Let me not give you the plot of that story. If you read it, it's very interesting. But what that story tells us is that instead of the wronged family going to court, taking the legal way out,
they
tried to solve it in a human manner, as through Kashmiri Sabha, looking to the fact that maybe that child is now in another environment which he now probably prefers, forgetting or leaving behind the fact that they themselves were deprived of that child. And therefore, what about that? But they overcame that, and through the Kashmiri Sabha, they did try to solve it, and they did solve it actually. It took 20 years to solve it, but they did. But what is the situation? Do you have some other stories which tell us about how the Kashmiri Sabha was very important in Kashmiri society to solve problems, almost like a panchayat?
Yes, Siddharthji, it was like the panchayat. I mean, there was, I don't think whether there were courts or anything like that existing at that time. Yes. But that मुझे नहीं पता है, होता होगा. But what I have learned and what I have heard from my parents and grandmother, little stories, I mean, something they trickled out. So, koi Sharga family was there, the Kashmiri Pandit. Because Kashmiris, whosoever used to go from Kashmir to other places, they were very keen to have their identity intact and their culture. Then other people, they were mixing, no doubt. But to keep God and to keep culture alive, they would form mohallas, their own Kashmiri mohallas in different places, whether it was in one city or other city. And to some extent, they used to do all sorts of, disputes and whatever it was. And they were within themselves, and all the Kashmiri Pandits and all the Kashmiris would sit together to solve the problem. But one thing is there, I mean, they would see they wouldn't sort of do it out of malice or anything, but it was amicable, and it used to be good for all the parties. That is how they used to do.
In fact, I would very much... Yes, Kimlataji, in fact, your stories also refer to the feasts. And I think this is a subject which may interest many of us, particularly me, of course. But what did you find when you were growing up, and through your book and through your stories, what were the foods that the Kashmiri Pandits used to really enjoy making, and why? That would be a nice story from you.
One thing is there that Kashmiris are very fond of food, and all sorts of meats and all sorts of dishes, Rogan Josh, and then Kalia, and this Nadruz, Pachan. Pachan means flying duck. Shikar, they used to call it. Shikar. And that was quite common. Of course, it was very difficult to get in the market, but we used to have that.
On special occasions.
Special occasion, especially on the Shivratri day. It was
Ah.
first offered not only one thing, something flying duck, that was a must. Then the fish, water one, which was in the water, that was fish, and then goat. All
Oh.
three, वो बना लेते थे so that they could offer this to the Lord Shiva. And another thing is that Kashmiri people were fun-loving people. Wherever जहाँ भी उनका कोई shrine है, festival hai, they have combined it together to have merry, good time, happy time, joyful time. And they used to combine these things. Because in Shaivism also, the Kashmiris were saying that we don't have to negate anything. After all, this world, this universe is a stage where you have to come and play your, drama, play your role to the best of your ability. You have to play. And then you have to leave this stage. And in this stage, you have to have real celebration. And that was the attitude, as I have understood the
Yes.
Shaivism, which was given to us by our great saints and our sages and other big rishis and munis.
True.
That was Kashmir Shaivism.
Indeed. And in fact, children also used to be very much part, as we are seeing today, young Tanya singing the Shiv, shloka.
Beautiful.
And you have the children taking part in drama and plays and playing the roles of different people. So it was a way of entering into and understanding the culture of that time through participation.
No, but one thing was there, Siddharji, because Kashmir was cut off from the rest of the world, I should say, rest of the country. And they had to derive their pleasures out of them within themselves. And in our family, I must say, I will admit that since my grandfather had come from Lucknow, and he had broader vision. He was very encouraging person. And maybe it was due to his education, due to his background, and due to his interaction with other world, that in our family, the mimicries and dramas and other things were within the family. And not only within the family, but our molewalas and all the people who were living around our.
So important. I mean,
they would also join.
That was the mohalla. That is the real sense of the Kashmiriyat that used to exist out there.
That is true. And they would not only give my sisters, younger sisters and brothers who were just having it, they would be characters in the dramas. They would bring parents and all sorts of dresses from our neighborhood, and they would give gladly. Naturally, they were part of these things. They were also sometimes taking some small roles and big roles, and participated in these things themselves.
True.
This was the ethos. And another reason is that our culture, universal, or I should say uniform culture, without Muslim, Hindu, was same. And because our race is same, our culture is same, language is same, dress is same. If you are going to take DNA, same. Our everything is same. But unfortunately, the schism which has been created by those people who are still going to spoil the ethos of Kashmir. But I must tell you one thing, the yesterday's situation, what happened here. This time, every Kashmiri is really feeling bad about it. Every Kashmiri. Cross-section of, I went yesterday to the family who they got the Bindru family, and other families also I went. And I found so many people there. Previously, this was not the story like this. I mean,
I see.
situation.
That's
but
encouraging.
this time everybody is condemning this openly, and they said this is not good thing. I'm talking about yesterday's. Therefore, I see a ray of hope.
I think it's a point from my point of view. I would say this is Ajay. I think I have asked her many questions. I don't know whether you want me to ask her more. I could, of course, but I will ask one question, and after that, I think perhaps you might like to open it to any questions which have come. Is that up? Would you like to do that? Or would
Most
you like
certainly.
Me to?
Most certainly, Siddharthji. Please go ahead with your last question, or you may have more, but go ahead.
My last question. So my last question is curious. As I have read your book, and it has been a fascinating exercise for me. आप मुझे बताइए, अगर आपको अपनी कहानियों में से एक कहानी निकालनी हो कि ये कहानी मैं चाहती हूँ कि सब लोग इसको पढ़े, सुने, महसूस करें, वो कौन सी कहानी होगी?
सिद्धार्थ जी, I must tell you frankly, बहुत सारी stories हैं from my heart, most of them. तो मुझे वो नफशिन मुबारक बहुत अच्छा लगा।
अच्छा, बताइए क्यों, स्टोरी क्या है और क्या क्यों?
वो स्टोरी तो ऐसे है कि वो ड्यूरिंग द विंटर मंथ्स, फर्स्ट स्नोफॉल, one of my भाभी, she goes in the garden और वरंडा में थोड़ा सा बर्फ ले आती है हाथ में, and then she gives that to my grandmother. Grandmother doesn't know what is in her hand. She says that bunch of your own, these keys you have lost somewhere and I'm going to give you. तो उसमें ऐसा होता था कि first snowfall, whosoever used to give it to someone, then he had to treat her. treat her or treat him, or I mean vice versa. उसको कहते हैं कश्मीरी में नवशीन खोरनस। I mean इसके ऊपर चढ़ा लिया नवशीन, उसको उसके ऊपर हो गया. Then he had to give a feast, and that feast would must have been, I mean, they would expect that it would be a real feast with all the things, and then that person would also get some gifts.
Wow! So
it was, you know, something different from other cultures, perhaps.
Indeed.
Because बर्फ में भी joy ढूंढ लेना, बर्फ में भी, और उसमें भी celebration करना. Because after all, इसको कहते थे कि बारात है ये, and it's going to give us water and other things. अच्छा फसल होगा. I mean, so many things.
Wonderful.
So, it used to be associated with your prosperity, with your goodness, wellness to the nation. तो इसलिए इसका बहुत ही महत्व था.
That's a really beautiful interpretation. I never thought of it really that way, but you've given it a very deep meaning, and thank you for that. I'm going to look at that story again from your point of view.
हाँ, आप देख लीजिए, पढ़ लीजिए.
Ajay.
Excellent rendition of stories so far, so enthralling. Hemlata ji, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
I was bold enough to talk about possible extinction, 100 years and all that. Some people may think I'm crazy. It's sometimes important to kind of, shock ourselves and thereby take some actions. But, in your book, I saw that how when Kashmiris in previous exoduses had moved out, they had formed these mohallas in Lucknow, in Ambala, and they were ways in which they were kind of building that camaraderie and call it that unity, which to my mind in present context, if you can reflect on those stories and then they say that while we are hoping that one day we will all go back to Kashmir, how can the Kashmiri community still remain united and be one while they are globally getting dispersed today?
आपने तो मेरे मुंह की बात ही निकाल दी ये. But nowadays it's not difficult. Just imagine in previous years, previous centuries, वो कैसे अपने आप को जुड़ा के रख लेते थे. They used to keep, track of each other. they would, for not only that, agar wahan ek koi hota tha, he would call his kins to come and for the sake of jobs and money earning. It was not only always exodus. It was for the going to the greener pastures also. It was to betterment of for their own keep, to keep their lives happy. तो इसलिए भी वो हो जाता था कि करते थे. And then wherever they used to go, they were very keen to have their own culture intact, to have contact with each other, to be together, to converse with each other, to know much more about their culture and other cultures also. एक चीज मैं अजय जी आपको बताना चाहूंगी, कश्मीरी कल्चर्स में बीच बीच में जो भी कुछ आया, they have been able to amalgamate it into their own culture, like so many things. कहीं भी जाते हैं हम, wherever we go, we adapt their ways if we like it. हमने even in English also, in Persian also, as Siddharth ji said, we have learned all the languages whosoever came to Kashmir and other places also. Our people went to Lucknow and other places in India and to different Jaipur and other places. They learned their language, and because of learning Persian and other languages, they were able to get good positions and good posts, whosoever was there, the ruler. So ये तो हाँ, ये तो था ही. And I must say that it is in our gene. Wherever we go, we adapt their culture and also keep our own space and keep our own culture intact. Perhaps that's how I feel.
Khemlata ji, what is the secret of the informal internet? वो जरा बताइए हमें. How does the rumor fly so fast? What do you think is the reason for that? Because really,
because
can you imagine the whole of, you have said it, the whole of Srinagar knows about one family's plight. What is the reason for that?
Actually क्या हुआ कि because nowadays we have net and social media and other things nowadays, when it was not existing in our place, in our Kashmir, the word of mouth would run like a fire. and then there were vested interest also. If you had to किसी की बदनामी करनी होती थी, like in one of my stories, that death drama, that the lady who was in love and something. And then in that also they didn't want, some people who wouldn't like the family, or there was rivalry, or there was other reasons, they didn't have good connections, and they would make all sorts of gossips. Or abhi bhi aisa hai. Don't think that it has died down. It is still going on. And my helper came one day. She said, why? I asked her. I said, why are you so late today? She said, no, one Dayan had come. And then and somebody had been frightened and he was dead. So some sort. And it was truth. It was not कोई ऐसी वैसी बात नहीं थी. It was the correct picture she has depicted. तो इसी तरह बहुत सारी ये. And first, whatever has to happen, first rumor goes around. Then it happens. And rumor mongering is perhaps really, I think it is an sort of entertainment.
Really?
What shall I call?
No, entertainment. I'll tell you
entertainment.
Why. Kashmiris are supposed to be great actors.
Exactly.
Actually, they will tell you with mirch masala milake and all that. I remember my grandfather talking to the peasants and all that. The way they would narrate the story with huge exaggeration and amazement and so forth, कि मैं पता नहीं तबाह हो गया. But very interestingly told, because that dramatic expression, that feeling, वही बात है. dil ki baat hai. There is Kashmiris on both sides have a lot of heart. Now, sometimes it works properly, sometimes it doesn't work so well, but that's what it is.
That is true. But Kashmiris are also emotional and
Yes.
and very quick to exaggerate the things.
There you are.
Out of
Yeah.
proportion they.
Indeed.
There must be a thread, I'm sure, to that also. A bit of a personal question, Khemlataji, which also may be a big message for our community. Women education, women empowerment. I think you probably are one of the brightest examples of a lady coming out of the, the pre-independence era and who has risen to this kind of level. How much, despite, that conversation a little while back on how Kashmiri women would take the brunt of the back end, which is khana banana and making all those dishes and cleaning and all that. But still, Kashmiri Pandits used to give a lot of emphasis to women education, which has carried on till today. If you see today, Kashmiri girls, young girls are as educated as any stories or any thoughts on reflection of how that used to get kind of still combined despite all the work the Kashmiri women would do. Any stories on that, on women empowerment, women education?
Not in this book, which is there, century, this one. But to my mind, I think Kashmiris have always been forward in these things. Not only Kashmiri women folk, but the education was foremost in that. For that matter, I have written in one of the stories that my aunties, influence of their father was such that they were first. One of my aunties, Gauri, which is written in my one of the books, one of the stories, that she was first matriculate in Kashmir, first one.
Wow.
Who was taught, and it was very difficult at that time. I have heard that when she had to go for examination, it was very, very difficult. But she had to be taken by a tanga, and that tanga was covered charon taraf se band karke, as if just to take her to the center. And it was very difficult. But one thing is there, when one takes step, then there is no dirt. People also go forward, and they also take the cue. This is a characteristics. As far as Kashmiri Pandits are concerned, they take the cue. They follow whatever. Nowadays it's no problem. Every child, every girl, everywhere, wherever they are, not only in education, any sphere of life, they are going for that, and it is a great, wonderful thing.
I have one question for you, and this question to me is also coming out of the book, because you have mentioned of Kashmiri, Pandits or Kashmiri learned people who would travel far and wide and kind of spread. So while it's a small community, the literary heritage of Kashmir is great. So what is your view on Kashmir being integral to the notion of Bharat, the whole of India almost being a harbinger or a gateway to the rest of the country?
Kashmir is very, very important to the entire country. Important in the sense that learned people had come from here, and those people who were our ancestors, and great scholars, great saints, great peers and fakirs, later on fakir. And another thing that we used to stress on excellence. And always we were very, very, excellence is the key mark to our society, especially Kashmiri Pandits. Excellence. Whatever you are doing, wherever you are going, you have to give best out of yourself. Number one. Number two, the secular fabric of our genes and our ways and the way we were living and the way our ethos is real secular. Secular is universal. It's not coined by anybody now. It is the ethos, secular. The world is your home. The whole universe is your home. And your religion, your culture, we celebrate it. The life is for celebration. It's not for negation. Celebrate, and we are the seekers of truth, seekers of really the reason why we have come to this planet. This is, it's not, I mean, we shouldn't see it in our small ways that we are here eating and chalo. We are seekers. We have to know the truth. We have to know the reality, real awareness, super awareness. That is the meaning of our lives. That's how I take it.
Excellent.
And I think that we have to, it is a dance. This life is really Shiva dance,
Leela.
spiritual dance. It is really wonderful.
Excellent.
But provided we know how to take it, how to dance here, how to take everyone. For us, there is no Advait. We are one. We are together. There is no barrier. And we have to shake these barriers. We have to show the new light to the entire country, world. That is our Kashmirian. That is Kashmiri. And I just last one thing. And that Kashmiri, they used to go to shrine, Parbat. On the way to Parbat, they used to throw some chawal just to feed the birds. They used to feed fishes. They used to feed birds. They used to, that means harmony. Even we are worshippers of trees. We are worshippers of water. We are nature worshippers. And Kashmir is a real abode of Shiva. That's why seekers used to come here. That's why people, saints and rishis, they used to come to Kashmir to have salvation, to get to find real truth. That is the attraction of this place. And it is intact, and it's going to be spreading a big light from this place to the entire world.
Excellent.
And all of you have to do something about that.
Absolutely. Mohit, one of our, Nilima ji, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Kemlata ji. So nice to see you again. So we had just done an interfaith peace pilgrimage to Kashmir and Ladakh around 15th August, and we had the pleasure of meeting you. My question is, you have beautifully explained what is the higher purpose of Kashmir. So how can we make meaning from the deep challenge and suffering of the land for the last 32 years? How can we find meaning in the suffering? Would you like to talk about that?
I would like to talk about this. We don't have to emphasize on the negativity. Negative is there, killings are there, but we have to forget about it. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to be cautious. That doesn't mean that we don't have to take care of ourselves. We have to go on pouring muddy water into the pitcher. You have to go on putting clean water into that. And one day, the pitcher will be clean, full of clean water. I'm sure about that. It is up to you how you see the world. Some Rakshasas are doing bad things. Do you think that we should be cowed down with this kind of thing? It is a war of truth. And we have to win it. War of truth. We have to go ahead.
Mohit, who's next? Suresh ji?
Yes, I think we can take Sureshji's question. Sureshji, if you would like to ask it yourself, he has a very pertinent question. So,
Namaskar, Kemlata ji. I just had a question about, as a eminent and established writer, what advice would you have for a new budding writer, especially a woman writer? based on your experience? And also, what was it that motivated you into writing in the first place? And who has been your favorite author? Thank you.
Nice. First of all, let me say that my favorite author was Perlas Buck. And she was a woman, and Premchand, Munshi Premchand. I loved their books very much, most of them. And I have read so many books, but I loved these, whatever they have written. They were just as if they were depicting. They were just, it used to come to your canvas, as if you are seeing a picture, that sort of thing. That motivated me so much. And another thing, that why I have written this kind of book, I'm talking about this recent book, that because I was getting pain that Kashmir is, I mean, everybody is talking about that. I mean, it's every day in the newspapers, books, and all sorts of magazines and all sorts of negativity. But that is not a real Kashmir. So I was feeling very bad. I said, no, inner Kashmir, nobody knows. The real Kashmir, the deeper Kashmir, the spiritual Kashmir, the reality, nobody knows. So we have to be away from this. We have to take it, in a broader sense, that the people of Kashmir makes Kashmir. Those people, saints and sages, that makes Kashmir. And therefore, so many sages, saints, rishis, they come here because ethos is like that. The position of Kashmir is in such a way that it's in Himalayas, and which gives the tremendous boost to the spirituality. And here also, I'm saying, since I'm just having an interaction with every Tom, Dick, and Harry here, so even our language is full of spirituality. Like if somebody comes in your home, then if somebody bless you, he says, Mujud Rose. Mujud Rose means be here, be centered. And we say Mujud Rose, Varu Rose, Mujud Rose. It is a spiritual. And if you are going to go in deep into your own language, you will find so many words, so many things which you will find that these are spiritual background. And here also, beautiful poetries are written by so many luminaries, so many good people here, Kashmiri poets. But there are lots of spirituality into that. The ultimate truth, ultimate things. We have to see, we are really, Kashmiri Pandit is a seeker. And so are others who are in contact with these people.
We have more questions. In fact, a lot of questions have come specific to the history of Kashmir. So, for example, Arun Bhatia ji, who is our patron, one of the youngest patrons of City Book Leaders at an age of 87, he still wishes to learn all languages. He participates in all the sessions. And he's a very pertinent question, possibly is to you, Siddharth ji, as well as Khemlata ji. Why the name Kashmir? Is it Rishi Kashyap or Kash mean Mir or what? So,
yes, I think it is Rishi Kashyap. It is Rishi Kashyap.
Yes.
Yes.
I think somebody from the Equat team may be able to vet it when it goes as a question on the app.
True.
And so many other
we have gone past our time limit. So with everybody's permission, I would like to give a heartfelt thanks to Khemlata ji and Siddharth ji. I think apart from getting to know the book, we almost got a lesson on Shaivism. Khemlata ji, on how to live life, how Kashmiri Pandits, despite being a small community, give almost a lesson of life to the rest of the world, that celebrate life, do things in this one life, don't have any, regrets later on. So eat your meat, have your drinks also, but at the same time, lessons on resilience, how to take on the world, flexibility, the right place for women in their lives in terms of empowerment, in terms of education and so on. I think it was, for me, it was almost a life lesson. I hope our audience also saw it that way. Siddharth ji, I think your questioning was, your Surabhi, the Surabhi days were kind of coming live in front of my eyes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful questions and very, very insightful, both of you. If I have to I won't call it summing up, but if I have to, from my own eyes, of all the books one has read about Kashmir so far, they are fraught with politics, these exoduses and the gory pieces, and which also have their own place, I must say. But this is probably the first such genuine attempt to bring in the macro with the micro. It's almost like if I, as a Kashmiri bumpkin, if I have to say, it's almost like a view from a dub. Dabas Asan Marak, the Dabas Kashir Maz Asan balcony. It used to be the balcony, which, if you're on top of that, you would get a view from inside what's happening in your house. You would also see what's happening outside.
That's true.
I think the book encapsulates the macro of outside and how it was also kind of linked to the micro inside the house and the vice versa. So there is an inside out and an outside in angle to the whole thing. How the society and the state at large was also residing in your own house, and the reverse is also true. And thereby, the religious harmony, living in peace with the environment, those examples of throwing chawal and, feeding the birds and all that, everything came live. So, outstanding book. I would urge all of our audiences to go and buy this book today if you haven't already done, and recommend it to all your friends. It doesn't matter if you're not a Kashmiri, because it has got live lessons for everybody. And thank you, Mohit, for putting this together. And thank you, Tanya, for giving that lovely rendition. And thanks and namaskar to all our viewers and audience today.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Very much.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth.